to the New York Giants. Actually, I was gonna think about if I wanted to go ahead and talk about the Cowboys, but I was like, no, we'll save it for last. So let's go ahead and what you got for when it comes to the New York Giants, man?
Well, look, man. Listen, the New York Giants, Herbie. If I'm uh, the the New York Giants, I don't want to say they don't have anything to be excited about because at the end of the day, they are a better team than they were last year, and a part of it is Herbie. The Giants, the way I look at the way this team is, right? The Daniel Jones era was purgatory. The Daniel Jones era was them was Giants ownership and the front office not wanting to admit the massive mistake they made, the massive whiff they made on picking Jones just because he was Eli's lookalike. Now, of course, they decided instead of getting an Eli lookalike, we'll just get a guy too who went to the same school. We'll get a guy from Ole Miss. All right, cool. But this is what I'll say about the Giants, Herbie, because I don't think in any football situation there's any team that doesn't have anything. So I'll start with the things that I think the Giants can look forward to, and then the overall picture of the Giants. Number one thing the Giants can look forward to: Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors was fantastic last year when he played, and he had Daniel Jones looking like a way better quarterback than he was. He has a top 5 receiver in this league potential, regardless of who the quarterback is throwing him the ball. It just so happened he's going to have Wilson throwing him the ball, so that helps. Tyrone Tracy is another thing on their offense. When I was watching some film on the Giants, he wasn't a guy I was too familiar with because I haven't played fantasy football in years. But when I was watching highlights of Tyrone Tracy, I said, "Well, damn, they got themselves a really freaking nice running back." So when you look at their offense, they do have a couple of skill position players that can make something happen with the veteran quarterbacks that they have. The problem with the Giants, though, is that their offensive line has continued to be a problem, right? Andrew Thomas, when he's been healthy, has been a really solid tackle. But when you look at the rest of their line, they have too many questions, and they didn't really do, in my opinion, a great job addressing all of that, right? So the Giants' offensive line will always be a massive question mark for them. And when you look at Jackson Dart, who look Jackson Dart as a quarterback, based on what I know of him from college, on the little I've watched of him, he's a guy that he's accurate on short to intermediate throws. He has some touch on his passes. He has some athleticism. He can extend plays. He has physical tools that you would want in a quarterback. But he played at Ole Miss, Herbie, and they don't run a pro style offense. So you wonder how much of the scheme at Ole Miss really helped him look better than he was, right? You wonder about his ability in the pros to anticipate. And then when you look at it, and he's not someone who's ever really performed well under pressure in college. So in the NFL with a bad offensive line, whatever pocket presence or whatever little pocket presence he has, it's not going to look good if the offensive line doesn't hold up. But the crazy thing about the Giants, Herbie, is that I don't even think they're not gonna be a good team, but they're gonna be enough of a nuisance because I think their defense got a lot better. When you look at the defensive line, Herbie, you could make a solid argument on paper. They have one of the best D lines in football. When you look at Brian Burns, when you look at Kayvon Thibodeau, when you look at Dexter Lawrence, when you look at Abdul Carter, who has the opportunity to be a
Man,
Micah Parsons like player.
when I
Like,
tell you this, I've been watching film on the Giants because leading up we did the research, and not to cut you off, but I got to get this in here.
go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Abdul Carter has been wrecking training camp. Like, I mean, wrecking. There is one player in particular. It's going to be hard, but look up Abdul Carter and put bend. It is one of the fastest bend moves I've ever seen. It was a blur. Like, it was to the point where I said, yo, like, if I was the right tackle, I'd be like, bro, what you want me to do, bro? This man turned into a cat. Like,
Nimble as hell. Like
like
it's
he,
disgusting.
he spin move. And mind you, this is him coming off of foot surgery. Like, he's
Right.
not even fully healed. He wasn't even supposed to be in training camp because his foot is not completely healed. So he has room to grow physically. So
Yep.
he's going to be a monster. And true, I know you got you up there in New York and you got a whole bunch of people who are Giant fans who've been following. Abdul Carter is going to be a problem for a very long time. If what we're seeing in training camp transitions to actual games, yeah, bro, he's Michael Parsons 2.0 for sure, potential wise, man.
Right. And think about this, Herbie. You already have Dexter Lawrence, who is he's been
Best
one of
tackle, the best defensive tackle in football.
right. and he's great in pass rushing and run stopping, right? He's going to demand a lot of attention. You already had Brian Burns. You already had Kayvon Thibodeau. Now you add Abdul Carter, who is the unknown, who's the guy who's probably, at least to start, going to get the least attention. The Giants' pass rush is going to be terrifying. And then you look at what they added in the secondary, right? That was one of their worst. That was one of the worst things about them. They got Javon Holland, who, despite having a down year with Weaver last year, prior to Weaver, he was one of the better safeties in the league.
Mm-hmm.
They get a Debo from the Saints, who was a talented, really solid cornerback. So when you look at the moves they made on defense, Herbie, their defense last year, whether people realize it or not, they ranked eighth in the pass last year.
Yeah.
They ranked ninth in touchdowns last year. And yeah, you can make the argument, okay, teams got up on them early. And, if you had that context, maybe teams didn't have to throw as much on them. But in a 17 game span, Herbie, to be ranked eighth in passing, I think that means something, no matter how much people try to take away from it. And then you added an even stronger pass rush. You added better players in the secondary to shore up weaknesses on that side of the ball. So the way I look at the Giants, Herbie, you have Russell Wilson at quarterback. They have a few skill position players. You have the defense that you're going to have. Although they, to me, are likely to be the worst team in the East when you consider, where the Eagles are, what we believe Washington to be, the talent that the Cowboys could put together depending on the health of certain guys. You look at the Giants, Herbie, they won't be, and the messed up thing about it too, their schedule is, Herbie, their schedule, bro, for a last place team, that shit it's not fair. Like, like they have one of the toughest schedules in the NFL next year. Even when you just look at it, they get the Eagles twice, first of all. They get Washington twice. They get the Cowboys twice. I actually have the list here. Here are the other games they have. They play Kansas City. They play the Chargers. They play Denver. They play Green Bay. They
That's
play
rough.
Minnesota.
That's
They
rough.
play San Fran. Like,
That's
Herbie,
rough.
they
That
like
is
the
rough.
Giants are in for a tough season. But if I am a Giants fan, what you're really looking forward to is the develop. First of all, they're gonna throw Russ out there,
Yeah,
and
for
he's
sure.
gonna be the one to deal with all the problems with the offensive line. We're gonna see where the offensive line is early, right? So Jackson Dart won't be killed right away. But I think if the offensive line performs a little better than they think, I think they should throw Jackson Dart out there and let him get some reps because he's the guy that you're gonna, you invested a first round pick in him. He's gonna be your future. But if I'm a Giants fan, look, you're just the Giants are gonna be a nuisance of a team. They're not gonna be one of the better teams at all. But because of the defense that they carry, because of some of the skill position players that they have, they're going to cause problems for everybody they play. And listen, they might end up playing spoiler down the line towards the end of the season, which will affect tiebreakers, which will
Listen,
affect positioning.
that
That's
that
what
is
you can hope for.
that is what, if you're a Giants fan, anybody who's a Giants fan that came across this video, what you want to do, your goal this season is to just say, hey, maybe we could screw one of these guys, right? Like,
Yeah.
that is the goal, to play spoiler. See
Yep.
how good your defense is, make it really hard, have a lot of competitive games, and play spoiler, man. So that is what y'all should look forward to when it comes to the
That
2025
pass rush
Giants,
is gonna
man.
be a problem, man.
It is gonna be a
It's
problem.
gonna
Like,
be a problem.
it's mathematically impossible to guard everybody on that D line, bro. Like,
Yep.
if you take Kayvon Thibodeau and make him the fourth best pass rusher, he's immediately better. He's not a number one pass rusher. He's not a number two, but he's a hell of a number four.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you
Yep.
you you got to double Dexter Lawrence, so that's going to free up him. You might have to double Dexter
Brian
Lawrence and
Burns.
potentially Brian Burns. So yeah, bro, for sure.